Hello guys, welcome back. I'm Yusuf Shakeel and you are watching JavaScript tutorial series. In this video, we are going to learn about JavaScript data types. So let's get started. Alright, so I have opened the project folder in Sublime Text, and inside the project folder, I have created a new file data-type.html. And inside the JS folder, I have created a new file data-type.js. And inside this HTML file, I have included this JS file by using this script tag. And now let us go ahead and open this file in a browser. So I'll open the project folder and open this file in Chrome. And now to open developer tools, we'll go to view, developer, and we'll select this developer tools. And we'll go to console tab. All right. A data type tells us about the type of data that a variable holds. So for example, if a variable holds a number, then its data type is numeric. And depending on the data type, we can also define the type of operations we can perform on that variable. So for example, if a variable is holding number, then we can perform math operations like addition and subtraction. And if say two variables are holding string, then we can perform concatenation of those two variables using the plus operator. So let's go inside the JS file and let's say we have two variables. So let's say var x, and let's say the value is 10, and let's say we have another variable var y, and let's say the value is 20. So these two variables are holding numeric values, so their data type is numeric. And hence, we can perform math operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, etc. So let's say we want to add the two variables and get the result. So let us console log. And now if we open the file in Chrome, we get the output 30, which is the sum of x and y. Similarly, let's say we have two variables that are storing string values. So the data type of those two variables will be string. So let's say we have var str1. This is our first variable. And let's say it holds the string hello. And let's say we have another variable var str2. And let's say it holds the value world. And since these two variables are holding string values, so we can perform concatenation of these two string values to create a third string by using the plus operator. So we can console log str1 plus, we can add a space, then plus, and we can add str2. And if we now console log and check the output in the browser, we'll get hello space world. So if we go back to Chrome and reload, we get the output hello space world. So depending on the type of data that a variable holds, we can define the type of operation we can perform. Now let's talk about the different data types in JavaScript. Well, in JavaScript, we have two types of data, primitive and object. So data type, we have primitive and object. We also have function, and we can use functions to also create objects, and we'll cover that in the later videos. Primitive data types are the basic data types in JavaScript, and we have 5 primitive data types. So primitive data types. We have Boolean, which are two values, true and false. We have null, which is for empty. We have undefined, which is undefined. We have number and string. JavaScript is a loosely typed language. That is, we don't have to define the data type of a variable. So if you're familiar with other programming languages like Java or C, then if you want to have an integer data type, then in Java or in C, we have to write int and let's say a variable name C. So this will be the name of the variable, and this integer or int defines the data type of the variable. So in Java and C or C++, this line will tell us that we can only store integer value in the variable C. Okay, let me comment this. And in Java, C, C++, etc. But in JavaScript, so JavaScript, in JavaScript, we don't have to define the data type of a variable. If you want to define a variable, we just write var C. And this variable C can hold integer value, it can also hold string value, it can also hold Boolean value, null or undefined. So if we write var C equal to 10, then the data type of this variable at this moment is number. And to check the data type of a variable, we use the typeof operator. So if we console log type of C, and if we check the output in Chrome, so let me reload the page, we can see the data type is number. And since JavaScript is loosely typed, so in this line we can assign, let's say, a string value. So let's say hello world to the variable C. So now if we console log, let me copy this. So now if we console log at line number 38, the type of C will get the output string. So at this line, line 34, will get the data type for variable C as number. And at line 38, we'll get the data type of C as string. So let us go back to Chrome, clear the console and reload the page. We get number at line 34 and we get string at line 38. Alright, then let us now talk about the primitive data types. So the first one is Boolean. So if a variable holds either true or false value, then its data type is Boolean. So let's say var is game over. If the value is true, then the data type of this variable is game over is Boolean, because we are saving Boolean value true. So another Boolean value is false. So if the game is not over, then we can set the value to false. The next primitive data type is null. And this is used to say that the variable is empty or not set. So if we have a variable var, let's say ABC, and if we set the value to null, then the data type of this variable ABC is null, as it is holding the null value. And we use the null value to express empty or unset variable. The next data type is undefined. And if a variable holds a value undefined, then the data type of that variable is undefined. So in JavaScript, if we declare a variable, let's say name, but we don't assign any value to this variable, then by default, JavaScript will set the value for this variable name to undefined. The next primitive data type is number. So if a variable, let's say score, holds an integer value, then the data type of that variable is number. And if the variable holds floating values, let's say 10.1, still the data type of that variable is number. So let's say if we console log type of score, and if we go back to Chrome and reload, we get the data type number. And if we set an integer value to the variable score, then we'll still get the data type number. So if a variable holds an integer value or a floating value, then the data type of that variable is number. And the next data type is string. So if a variable, let's say address, holds a sequence of characters enclosed in double quotes or single quotes, then the data type of that variable is string. In this case, let's say 123 street. So this is a string value, and we are assigning the string value to this variable address. So the data type of this variable address is string. We also have something called the scape sequence. Scape sequence has special characters that starts with a backward slash. So scape sequence. These are special characters starting with backward slash. So let's say we have a variable var, let's say s1, and let's say we want to use single quote inside the double quotes. So let's say we are learning JavaScript. So we can write we are learning JavaScript. Now we can also write this VR as we are. Now inside the double quotes, we can use single quotes by using scape sequence. So we can write backward slash apostrophe. So now if we console log s1, we are going to get we are learning JavaScript, and this backward slash apostrophe will be replaced with this apostrophe symbol. So let us go back to Chrome and reload. So we get the output we are learning JavaScript. There are many other scape sequence that we can use in our code, and I have listed some in my website. So we have single quote, double quote, backslash character, line feed, carriage return, and horizontal tab. And all this scape sequence start with a backward slash. Now please note, a primitive data type can hold only one single value. So primitive data type can hold one value, whereas an object in JavaScript can hold multiple values. So let's say object can hold multiple values, and we can create an object in a similar way we create a primitive data type. So we'll write var obj equal to, and a shorthand notation is opening curly brackets and closing curly brackets and semicolon. So this variable obj is now having a data type of object. So if we console log type of obj, we'll get the object value as the data type of this variable obj. So if we go back to Chrome and reload, we get the object data type for the variable obj. So let's say if we have student object and we want to save student name, student ID, and student score. So we have to save 3 values, and we can do this by either using primitive data type. So in that case, we'll need 3 variables, one for student name, one for student ID, and one for score. Or we can use an object. So we can write var student, and inside the opening and closing curly brackets, we can write name colon, and we can set the name of the student, let's say Tom, and student ID. So we'll write student ID colon, and let's say A123, and score colon, and we can set the value, let's say 120.5. So we have a student object and it has key value pairs. So this is a property of the student object, and this is holding a string value that is the name of the student. This is another property of the student object, and it is holding the string value that is the student ID. And this is another property of the student object, and it is holding a number value that is the score of the student. So if we console log student, and if we open Chrome, we'll get an object which will contain key value pair. So if we reload, we get this object, and it has a key name which is set to Tom. It has score which is set to 120.5, and it has student ID which is set to a string value A123. We'll learn more about objects in the object tutorial video. So to recap, we have primitive data type and objects. We also have function, which we'll discuss in the function tutorial. In the primitive data type, we can hold only one value, and there are 5 primitive data types: Boolean, null, undefined, number, and string. We can define a variable in JavaScript by using the var keyword. So in this case, we have defined a variable var c, and we have set a numeric value 10. We can check the data type of a variable by using the type of operator. And for Boolean data type, we have 2 values, true and false. For null data type, we have only one value, that is null. And this is to represent an empty or unset variable. And we also have undefined data type. So if we declare a variable, but we don't assign any value to that variable, then JavaScript will set that variable to undefined. Then we have number data type. So if any variable holds numeric values, let's say 10 or let's say 1.2, then the data type of that variable is number. And to check the data type, we can use type of operator. And then we have the string data type, that is any sequence of characters within single quotes or double quotes is a string value, and a variable holding the string value is going to have string data type. We also have escape sequence, and these are special characters starting with /, and we can have single quote, double quote, horizontal tab, etc. as escape sequence. Then we have objects, and object can hold multiple values. And one way of defining object is by writing var variable name equal to opening and closing curly brackets. And we can check the data type of this variable by using type of operator. And in this case, we have created a student object, and object consists of key value pairs. So for this student object, we have the key name set to Tom, a string value. We have the student ID set to a string value A123, and we have score set to 120.5. And we can console log this student object and we'll get the following result in our console. So object consists of key value pairs. These are also called properties of the object, and we are going to learn more about object in the object tutorial. Alright guys, this brings us to the end of this tutorial. I'll post the tutorial notes on my website uyclassroom.com, and all the code that we are writing in this tutorial series, I'll put them in my GitHub repository. You will find all the important links in the video description, so please check that out. And if you find this video interesting, then please like this video and please subscribe my channel. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, and like always, stay happy and keep smiling. Bye.